Hi there, I'm Crystal Gazer and welcome to my channel. So, why have I paid for Guild Wars 2? Now, the game went free to play in August of 2015, so that's just before the release of Heart of Thorns, and yet people continue to buy the expansions. Why are they doing that? It's not just because you get the additional storylines and extra maps and stuff. There's so much that you get just from having a paid account. So let's have a look at the differences. Free accounts essentially have access to what the player base think of as core, so that's everything up to the release of Heart of Thorns. I want you to think about that for a second. You guys have access to the content that we paid for pre-Heart of Thorns and before the game went free to play. That is a lot of content, otherwise there is no way in hell that we'd have all paid for it. In terms of PvE then, that means you get all the playable races, all bar one of the classes. So you don't get Revenant because that was released with Heart of Thorns, but you've got all the rest. You get crafting, you've got core story, and you can max level your character. You've got dungeons, you've got fractals, which are progressively harder dungeons. And you've got access to seasons 1 and 2 of the Living World story. Season 1, I think, is free at the moment for everybody. I don't know what that will do in the future, but at the time of recording, it was free, I think, for everybody. Season 2, you would have to buy, though. That's on the gem store and it quite often goes on sale. On top of that, you've got all these maps to be exploring. In addition to all that PvE content, you're getting PvP, and at level 60 you can access World v World as well. So if the free game is so great, then why on earth would I choose to continue paying for the expansions and what have you if it's not just for the storylines? Let's go into what the paid for accounts get on top of what you get. In addition to the storylines that we get, we also get the maps associated with them. So that means that our world is now absolutely huge. And I do mean absolutely huge. We've now got a compass in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, thank you Anet, to help us navigate more easily rather than spending all our life scrolling. Another thing that we get access to that you don't is gliders, masteries, and mounts. Gliders, relatively self-explanatory. They came out with Heart of Thorns. They're needed for the verticality in those maps. Simple as that. They're a quality of life thing in core. They're not needed in core. Mounts, they came out with Path of Fire. Again, quality of life thing in core, not necessity. All the core maps were designed around players running around on foot. You guys do get a taster of mounts because you get 10 hours of gameplay with a raptor, but then it goes away. But you can still play the whole of the content that you have access to without a glider or a mount. Masteries are the horizontal progression system that Aina introduced. We're still level 80. We could be running around with a gold number of 450, 455 next to our name. We're still level 80 characters. That's it, really. They're quality of life things. They're needed in the expansions again, but in terms of anything that it gives us outside of the expansions, so in core where you'll be, they're quality of life things. There is a slight caveat on the masteries that, where I've said that you guys can still do everything and it's just quality of life for us. It does give us access to legendary crafting, which no is not a necessity, but is very nice. It will mean that we can do fractals far more easily. That is a whole other video though. And on top of that, it will mean that we can get around the maps more easily. So when we're all trying to get to events and stuff, we're more likely to get to the events if you haven't unlocked the waypoints close to the events yet. We're going to get there first, which means that we'll get it done and we'll move on. Okay, so let's move on to a few more direct comparisons here then. Paid accounts are going to level quicker than free accounts are. It's simple maths. Paid accounts get an XP boost, free accounts don't. Not only that, if you're a vet player and you've got a paid account, you're going to be leveling a lot quicker than the free person if you're running around with them. So this is something to watch in the way that you sort of talk to them or treat them, because as a vet player, you know what you're doing. You know how to get XP. You know how to clear the maps. So you're going to level quicker than them anyway. Not only that, you'll have achievements as a vet player. So you'll have certain account boosts. That means that you'll level quicker than them anyway. And on top of that, if you're a paid account holder, you'll be leveling 5% quicker than they are. So if they're struggling or they're finding it frustrating, maybe slow down a bit or just encourage them, because at the end of the day, it's not a bad thing to be a free player. Another thing that paid accounts get is 5 character slots as opposed to the 2 that free accounts get, and each of the character slots gets 5 inventory bag slots, where free accounts get 3. Again, this isn't the end of the world. You can buy more in the gem store, and seeing as you haven't had to shell out for the game, I don't see that as being a massive problem. There are a few things to do with communication that we get access to as paid players that free accounts don't have access to. For example, we get map chat. With DMs, we can send stuff to other people in the mail system. We don't have to wait 30 seconds before we can message another player in Whisper. We don't have to be on the same map as another player to be able to whisper them. We don't have to have them in our mutual friends list. Again, though, these are not horrendous things. It's mainly been done so that people aren't going to be gold selling. It was to try and reduce that. And with most of these things, there's a workaround for it. Like with DMs, you just put each other in your friends list. It's not a problem. With being unable to send people items, again, that's fine. There's ways of donating to your guild, and that's through the treasurer. So you shouldn't ever have to send a guild member anything for the guild. If you want to sell something to a player, do it through the trading post. I would advise that anyway, because if you get screwed over, then ANET are not going to help you if you've done it through DMs. Other than that, the only stuff we really have access to that free players don't is things like the elite specializations. Now, yes, this really opens up the game in terms of how we choose to play our characters, but they're all expansion locked, and they're expansion locked for a reason, because each of them does something new that makes sense in the story at that point. I have seen quite a few complaints about the fact that free accounts are locked into their starter maps until they're level 10. I don't see this as being a massive problem, to be perfectly honest, because you picked a race and you're now sort of working on that story. You're following that path. The fact that you're locked into the map that is appropriate for that, I don't see as being a massive issue. I can see why players that have got stuff in their bank and that might see it as an issue. I personally don't, because there's crafting tables or there's banks on most of the starter maps, if not all. They're usually about halfway up. But yeah, I personally don't see it as a problem. So the final thing I want to draw your attention to in terms of the difference between paid for and free accounts is the login rewards and dailies. Login rewards, relatively self-explanatory. You log in, you get a reward. No big. The dailies, though, they earn you 2 gold. If you do 3 out of a list, you'll get 2 gold and 10 achievement points, which means that free account holders can end up feeling like they can't earn gold, because until you've got crafting up or you've got to sort of level 80 where you're doing end game content and you can go and farm some stuff, it's not going to be as easy for you guys to earn gold as it is for paid for accounts. Because literally, like I say, all they have to do is pick 3 activities out of a list of activities, go and do them, and they get 2 gold, and they can do that every day. Okay, slight confession here. I went into the research for this video expecting that I would end up completely ragging on the free-to-play version of the game. Call it snobbery, call it elitism, call it what you like. Just do it in the comments so that we help the algorithm here. I actually don't hate the free version. I shouldn't hate the free version. I paid for it because it's essentially what we had from 2012 to 2015 when Heart of Thorns dropped. Would I still pay for it today? Yes, I would. And here's why. I like to get at least an hour of game time per pound that I spend on a game. I have over 6,000 hours in this game. Even if I was new to this, there's 80 levels that I can play through and an entire storyline across multiple different races. That's going to be more than £26. The Heart of Thorns Path of Fire bundle is £26 on Steam. It's more than 52 hours. Adding the End of Dragons to it is another £26. I don't know what the conversion to other currencies is, so you'd have to look that up. Even if I went for the complete edition, which is £86, there's more than 86 hours in this game. Way more than 86. Even if you don't have all the Living World seasons. Even if you drop all the Living World seasons in on top of that as cost, I'd still have more than 1 hour per pound that I have spent on this game, because there is no way I have spent £6,000 on this game. So yes, I would very much still be a paid for player. Even if I never came out of core, I'd still be a paid for player because of all the quality of life shit. So if you haven't downloaded the game yet, that you go and at least get the free version. If you can get the paid for game, great. And I hope that I'll see you in game. Thank you for watching. Talk soon.